Well, there you are. Again. Charlie Greer podcast. I do this every day. Today. So, music is magical. Yeah, it sure is. So, before we start, please like, share, subscribe, comment below. If you want to support the channel, the information is in the description for Cash App and Zelle. I'd appreciate it. Let's do this. So, music is magical. Of course. You're probably thinking, like, duh. But it is. Um, Sound, rhythm. Of course, I'm a musician. I'm retired. Like I'm in my 50s, so I don't have that maniacal drive to gig and play and write every day. But I play, not as much as I used to, but I play. This week I've been playing a little bit more than I usually do. But till recently, I was playing an hour a day just to keep my chops up. It's therapeutic. But music is magical. Um, there was a scientist, and he was recording stuff in the forest. Um, and he realized there was something else going on. There was a sound, and then somehow he sped it up, and it was a rhythm. And he said it was coming from the trees. He's like, wow, they're like singing to each other or something. It's a pattern, like a rhythmic pattern. You can look this up. So he was like, wow, this is interesting. Let me I'll pick another forest and see what their song is. Well, guess what? It was the same song. It was the same pattern. Then he went around to other forests, this, that, and the other, and he went around the world. And supposedly, it's the same music that these trees are emanating. But you have to have like special equipment to pick it up, and you have to speed up the record because it's a slow kind of music is frequency. Excuse me. We have a frequency. People have a frequency. Everybody can pick this up. I mean, you've walked by vibes like he's creepy. Yeah, your frequency. They have frequency technology that they're not talking about. They can track you by your own frequency. A frequency is like as unique as a fingerprint, maybe even more. They're starting to come out with this. Some scientists are starting to come forward, and they have frequency, and they've cataloged it. It's in a database. Everybody's frequency. They can mess with your frequency. You can mess with your frequency. You can mess with other people's frequency. It's going to make you feel bad as well, though. But yeah, music was my thing. My dad was always playing. He was really into David Bowie, the Stones, Joe Cocker, but mostly the Stones and Bowie. So that's what my first, when I was born in 71. By the time I could know what, I heard it, but by the time I was the Exile on Main Street, the Rolling Stone album. My dad had that, and then the Bowie album. I forgot which one it was. So, but my first real memory of music and what really hit me, and I was like, man, this is what I want to do. I was like 4 or 5, and I saw Kiss on like the Don Kirshner rock concert or whatever, like on a Saturday night. I was like, my God, and but my parents said that I would go. They had back in the day, they had these consoles, like these wooden consoles. It looks like a piece of furniture, and you lift it up, and they had like a record player. And they said I'd crawl over there and reach up, and I would stand and like boogie before I could even walk. They would laugh, have people come over and like put on a record. And I had certain records I liked, some I didn't. I'd be like, I like the Stones and Bowie. And then I got my first Kiss record, probably around like 4 or 5. This is it, I saw the New York Dolls too on Don Kirshner's rock concert. I saw a bunch of bands, but the Kiss and the Dolls were really got me. At the time I was living in Florida. My dad had his practice down there, and well, that was it for me. I found a tennis racket and I acted like it was a guitar, and I wanted to be Kiss. I was a kid of the 70s, so Kiss to me was like, oh my God, perfect timing for me for Kiss. Then I got Kiss Alive, that album. Oh my God, changed my life. Um, Music also makes you more intuitive, makes you smarter. They've weaponized music where it's just like these uh, war beats, you know. There's a certain they've well, for one, they've when they in the early 1900s they changed it to 440, the tuning standard, which is an out of sync tuning. They did that for a reason. They weaponized back then. Uh, Now all they promote is stuff to keep your frequency down. They don't want people doing good. They want you wallowing in the mire of self defeat. But yeah, and I might have got. I just remember that there might have been like a shitty acoustic one, but I remember like when I was 8, I got like a classic, like a plastic string, uh, half of them were metal strings, half were plastic, like this wide Spanish kind of classical. Then around 10, pardon me, I got a traditional acoustic. And then when I was like 12, maybe 10 or 12, I got my first electric. Um, it was a Harmony Flying V. Uh, that's why I'm partial to Flying Vs. And I didn't play Flying Vs forever, but I had a prototype made for me a couple years back, or maybe a year, about 2 years. And I did a Flying V because what I didn't realize was I learned on a Flying V, like sitting with the Flying V and standing, like, and then I went off the Les Pauls and stuff like that, hollow bodies, Telecasters. And then in a trade, I got a Flying V, and I was like, my God, this is home. I'd forgotten this knowledge. I was like, my God. So I'm into Flying Vs. Juniors and Flying Vs are my favorite guitars. And the one I had custom made, this prototype, it's like an Albert King kind of ripoff. It's got a Les Paul headstock with a Flying V, like a 58, like a bigger one. One pickup, one volume knob, kill switch, bam, rock and roll. I've got a DiMarzio Fred pickup in it, which is like Joe Satriani's pickup. Because I'm into shredders too, but I'm not really a shredder. But it's like, who would know about tone? He does. And that Fred, if you're looking for it's weird. I mean, at first you think like, it's kind of, I don't even know how to explain it. Compressed, the sound of this pickup. At first you're like, oh no. And then you get used to it. You're like, my God, I want him in all of it. Because I'm a Seymour Duncan, DiMarzio, Gibson pickup guy. I'm leaning nowadays, the older I get, is to the DiMarzio. I love their 36th anniversary PAF pickup. I've got that in my custom made Junior. The neck position and the bridge position. That's the trick, see? I learned this back in the day. If you want a real sounding PAF from like the 50s, like the first humbuckers, get a neck position, get one of the, whatever you are into. I'd recommend the DiMarzio 3600 PAF. Put the neck position in the bridge. Bam. You're welcome. You can thank me later. But yeah, I got this Flying V, Harmony Flying V, which at the time I didn't know anything about the flying, and it was a left-handed one. The guy didn't even tell me at the shop. So when I got home, got around showing it people, eventually someone said, "Hey man, why are you doing this upside down?" Like, what do you mean? It's upside down. That's a left-handed guitar, huh? So they taught me how to string it right-sided up. So it was upside down. My knobs were up here. Great guitar. Matter of fact, those Harmony Flying Vs, it was the walnut kind of. They were sold through like the JCPenney catalogs. I think it was made by Gibson, though, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was made in Kalamazoo, Michigan. But awesome. Somehow I traded that for some. Anyway, guitars are magical too. I think everybody should learn some kind of musical instrument. I think they've taken out, like literally taken all the music out of schools. Music and physical education, that's just gone. It's planned that way. They don't want you to. They want you all swollen up with McDonald's and Skittles and stuff. But to me, music was just, I couldn't understand why everybody else was, people like music, but man, it was my thing. That's all I'd play and just listen to music. Anytime I had money, I'd go to the record store. Try not. I love all kinds of styles of music. I'm a rock and roller, but I love, classical. I love soul. I love reggae, blues. I mean, I consider blues rock and roll, you know, but I was bound and determined to be in a band. And then I was like, I want to be a singer too. I could play guitar. My first band, I was the bass player because the guitar is the first, and I've told this story before. The guitar the bass is the first four strings of the guitar. Huh? I could do that. Yeah, we need a bass player. I don't have a bass. We've got this shitty Tiesco or some kind of bass. Um, Joined the band. I did. This was when I was in Smithville, Tennessee. I was like 15, maybe. Yeah, I think I was 15. And we started rehearsing and then playing. We were horrible. We were a cover band. We're playing like Don't Tell Me You Love Me," and Mr. Crowley, uh, Mr. Crowley. Yeah, we loved it. And we were go getters. We were teenagers, and we were like playing the fairground and renting out the VFW hall. And again, I've told this story before. If I'm parodying myself, but I then when I was 17, I moved to Champaign-Urbana, Illinois, and to a bigger school. I'd never been in a town that big. It's not that big, but to me, it was just like I'm coming from a town of 2,000 people, huge, like a big city. Um, and a lot of people in the school were in bands, and they were right about my level. I was a little bit above because I played gigs. But they were, I went to a talent show in the theater they had in the school, a big theater in high school, and I saw these bands. I was like, my God! I went up to I've told this, but I went up to both the bands. I'm going to be in both your bands. Like, what? I'm a singer. By then, I was trying to be a singer, and I would sing. I was learning how to sing. No, you're not. And I was like, yeah. So I had one of them, one of the guitarists, so maybe both of them came over, and I showed them. At the time, I had a hollow body, a Pinco, which was J.C. Penney Company guitar, which I think also was made in Kalamazoo, Michigan. A Pinco, and then a Kramer, like Eddie Van Halen, Floyd Rose, one pickup, one volume knob. But it was hard to keep that in tune, and so I was on my hollow body. This is like 88. Nobody's playing hollow bodies. Izzy from Guns N' Roses was playing a hollow body, and then Billy from the Cult, but nobody. It was the 80 hollow bodies. And the guy talked me into it at the music store. He's like, hey, you want to stand out. Because I was looking for like a rock guitar and a Marshall amp. He's like, man, everybody plays Marshalls. I'd recommend this PV. And he was right on. This thing could smoke a Marshall. And this hollow body, you'll stand out. And this hollow body through this high gain PV, you'll get a tone. He was right. And he, thank you, whoever you're. So I took his advice. I think for $400, I got them both. I paid him $400 even, and just left with it was a micro stack. It had a head and 2 10 cabs, this PV mini stack thing. High gain, had 2 channels. One was high gain, and chorus, and also. So I had these high school kids, come over and kind of blew their minds. Like, what the hell? So they were like, okay, you can audition for the band. And I got in one of the bands. And it became, I was in the band, and we did that until, you get into creative differences. Like they want to do more covers, which I get, it wasn't a good or bad thing. It just was. I was more into originals. I was writing a lot of tunes. I wanted to do my own thing. Then it took me back, and we were starting to play clubs, and we started to get a buzz. And then when I wanted to do my own thing, people thought I was crazy. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're quitting your band. I was like, well, yeah, they don't want to do what I want to do. We still stayed friends, but I needed, and it took me a year, and it was brutal because back then, gigging was like my life. Playing live was, it's fun to play live, and so I finally got my band, and then we popped off. We started doing our thing, and I didn't play any guitar. Part of me, I was the lead singer. Usually during the break, like the guys would want to go to the bathroom or go drink a bit, whatever it was. I would get up and do a song. I usually did a Johnny Thunder song, "Can't Put Your Arms Around a Memory." And we were a heavy, like tuned down band. And then to be like playing a Johnny Thunders kind of a, not a ballad, but more of a, nobody knew, believe it or not, nobody knew who Johnny Thunders was. He had just died too. And I've always been a Johnny Thunders fan. I've always been a New York Dolls, Kiss, be like, Johnny Thunders. Who the fuck? And they'd be like, I love that song. Who is that? Johnny Thunders. Johnny Thunders. Maybe I've heard that name, The day that Johnny died, I was working in a record store in Champaign, Illinois. And the owner he was from New York. And I was just, it was tough. I wanted to leave. I was literally like, man, I got to go. And Johnny Thunders died today. He's like, Johnny Thunders died. How do you know who Johnny Thunders? And he was a fan. And we kind of connected. And for a while, he started a label. He signed up a few bands. He was putting most of his interest and money in us. But then it got too much for him. He didn't realize how much work it was. He had a business and a family. He dissolved it. But thank you for. And but I was always writing songs, even when I was in my band, that because we were tuned down heavy, drop D, G, just or B, whatever it was. And I was writing in like standard E, like 440. Again, 440. But so I like now they turn these songs down. We don't like, and we were recording our second album when it all went to shit. I mean, it was like everybody, we're having problems with the band. And so at the height of this band, we broke up, which happens quite often, but people couldn't wrap their mind. Like, why did you guys, to this day, people were like, what happened to, the band was called Love Engineer. Like, what happened to you? Because we'd already put out a CD. We were getting reviews from like New York to LA. We were getting, doing fanzine interviews and playing Milwaukee, Chicago, Detroit, Terre Haute, Indiana, wherever the hell, we were all over. And I was going to do my own thing. And then for 4 years, I just demoed. I moved to St. Louis and I started managing my family's antique store. And I got a 4-track and just wrote songs, demoed, horrible. You put it down on tape. And then I did meet some people to, just try to start a band. But then people come and go and everything. And I auditioned, since I was been an lead singer, I joined this Musicians National Referral. So I auditioned for, oh my God, Uriah Heep. I auditioned for Cry of Love. Remember Cry of Love? I auditioned for them. Well, this is the thing. I didn't get to the stage of actually in the room. This was people who lived here, there, and everywhere. We were on the phone exchanging music. And then with the Uriah Heep guys, that audition was just, because they were older and I was so young, they just wanted to feel me out. So we just like met at the manager's mansion, like sat in the kitchen and drank. And those guys were just, it didn't work out. I couldn't relate to them and they couldn't relate to me. And I get it. It was friendly. It's just like, you've never been on the road, like really on the road. And also they wanted me to like be like a employee. The only reason I was wanting to audition for these bigger bands is to make money. By then I realized, like, you know what? I'm tired of doing this for like scraps. I want to make some real money. And it was like, well, no, you're going to be a hired hand. Pay, you won't get any. I was like, no. They weren't going to give me any publishing or anything like that. No merchandise money. No. And then when I went to LA, I was focusing on my scripts and my acting. I still had gear. And then my first roommate knew Love Engineer. He was like, what the, you Charlie from Love Engineer? Wow. He's like, how do I know you? And I was like, how you doing? Yeah, I do somehow. I was like, no. And we lived together for probably months before I was like, yeah, I'm in love. What? She's like, dude, you got to put a band together. You got. I was like, no, I'm just focusing on my writing. I've got some scripts, this, that, and the other. I'm in SAG now. I got a Screen Actors Guild. And and thank you because he kind of pushed me. And then this was Recycler. It was a newspaper where, the bands would put, looking for whatever, like ads. And he put the ad up. And I was kind of fighting them all. Then I was like, fine. And we rented a rehearsal hall right across the street from Hollywood High School in Hollywood, right off like Highland. And the first person that walked through the door was Sean from the Asexuals, and I knew him, and he knew me. He's like, Levenger. He's like, what's he? So he's like, look, I got gigs booked. If you switch to bass, because we're gonna be 3-piece. I play guitar and sing. You can sing and play bass, and I got a drum. We already got them booked. Next week I'm playing like the Mint in West Hollywood. Okay, fine. And it pissed off my roommate and this other dude we had, but he ended up like the drummer ended up being in like Greg Ginn's band, the guy from Black Flag, and everything works out. And then I was in that band, LaMotta. I was in LaMotta for about a year, and then I wanted to do my own thing. See, I wanted to, nothing bad. Like it wasn't like again, creative differences. I guess like just want to do my own thing. I didn't want to be hiding behind a band. I wanted to go solo. I wanted to be like Charlie Greer. That's it. But I was insecure, and my first solo CD that I released was it was called Darting Oxcart, which is basically my first solo. Then from there, I just been solo, just using my name. And when I was in LA and I was telling this story last night to Scotty Beers was, I played around Hollywood, and you're playing in the Valley too. You're playing like the San Fernando Valley, San Gabriel Valley. You're playing Orange County. You get almost tour around LA. It's big, But I was getting interest from San Bernardino, which is like an hour and a half, 2 hour with traffic. It might even be long. It's outside of LA. It's outside of LA County. It's in San Bernardino County, and it's kind of a rough area. But they were like, "Hey, you have fans here." I was like, "What? San Bernardino?" But by then, I'd been played on like internet radio and local, whatever the hell it was, and I had people had albums out. But you're not thinking like, I was telling Scotty this, like we pulled up and we were playing like, I think in downtown San Bernardino. It was a big club, but it was an all ages club, or it was an all ages night. I don't really remember. And it was packed. There was people outside, and we went down this kind of alley and then pulled in the back, and there was this area to unload. And I remember like the stage manager, the manager of the club came out, and I was like, why are these people here? And he's like, for you, dumbass. Like, really? I have that many? What? Like, I didn't, because in LA, I'd play like, but not like this. This was packed. There was like hundreds of people there. And it was an awesome show. Maybe one of the best I've ever played. The stage was moving. There were so many kids, like, and I couldn't, it was all ages. So I had to hide my booze, like in a cup. Like, you can't bring in your, what? Then after the gig, there was like 100 kids in the parking lot, like asking for my autograph and shit, want my phone number to call me. And I did. And at the time it was like MySpace. So I had all these kids, but then I started playing, but my band was like, no, we don't want, it's a drive. You leave, you get home at like 4 a.m. Hey, when they weren't road dogs, they weren't, and they brought their girlfriends along. So this is another thing. Like, I'm tired. I'm hungry. I mean, that's that. It's not especially in LA. Like, you want to have the band in the van or Bronco or whatever you're in. You don't want to bring other people that are you're gonna be tired. You think you're tired? Well, hell, I just sweat it out at 1,000 calories, and I need sodium and electrolytes and shit. It's not a mean thing, but you got to weed these people away, especially on a gig night. Like, no, but music is magical. Comment below. What do you think? Are you into music? Have you given up on music? I think people should be listening to music more in these like trying times where, I think everybody should play guitar or piano, trumpet, whatever it is, or bass. If you want to learn pretty quick, bass is just don't, just follow the dots. I mean, just, you'll figure it out. And I taught music lessons. I taught singing lessons, vocal lessons, a little bit of guitar. Usually I would end up teaching, because I used guitar. I didn't have a piano or keyboard, and I'm not that good. I know a little bit. So I would have to, a lot of my female clients that were singers wanted to learn I Will Always Love You, like the Dolly Parton, Whitney Houston kind of. And I have to learn that on guitar. And I did. How many times I've sang that song and it changes keys and goes higher? And fuck. Um, on guitar, I'd have to learn hot stuff. Gotta have some hot stuff, baby. On guitar. I mean, we'd play along with like the YouTube video or whatever. You don't believe how many female singers wanted to learn hot stuff and I Will Always Love You. I'm talking about dozens of them. And by the time they showed up, they usually call on the phone for the book. I was like, oh, hot stuff. Oh, yeah, I already know that. Really? Yeah. No, you don't. Like, show up and like, oh my God, you do. And I Will Always Love You. And again, I wouldn't start out with I Will Always Love You. That's tricky. Don't think right off the bat you're going to be able to do that key change. And Whitney Houston was a badass. You know, she could sing. Awesome singer. People forget. And Dolly Parton wrote that. I like her version better. It's more timid. And sing. If you don't even want to play guitar, start singing. See, people used to get in their kitchens back in the day. My grandparents used to do that, and they would like especially on my mother's side of the family. My father's side were Elvis devotees. They loved Elvis, and I love Elvis too. I got 2 Elvis tattoos. My grandparents to the day they had an Elvis license plate. You know, like on the front of their car. Elvis was Scottish. We were Scottish. They loved Elvis, and I do too. I think he was one of the best singers. He didn't write any music, but he was an awesome singer, awesome president. I mean, he was Elvis. He basically spawned rock and roll. Now, in my humble opinion, Chuck Berry is the king of modern rock and roll, like guitar rock. As far as crooning, I think Elvis is, he's the king. But Chuck Berry is to this day, everything's goes back to Chuck Berry. And he was the first one to play the guitar like a piano. Those riffs, he's just ripping off Johnny Johnson, his piano player. And he had admitted it. Chuck did. And I've told the Chuck Berry story. I used to call Chuck Berry on the phone. And he asked me over to his compound, if you will call, and then ran me off. I mean, he should have, because I was being I interrupted his piece. But yeah, anytime I'm like melancholy or just like bored or whatever, pull out the guitar. And lately I have been going through old songs and learning songs. I'll pull up my guitar and just go into YouTube. And my thing to do now is just to get my guitar out, tune it up. Oh, and for Christmas, I got a Snark tuner. Scotty Beers got me a good, because I like clip-on tuners. And I already had one, but the Snarks are, man, the Snark 2, I think, awesome. Pull up YouTube, and I listen to so much music. Every time I pull up on my main page, they're referring, like music. So I'll see one of these songs and I'll be like, okay, bam, I'll learn it. Like, what was it? Susie and the Banshees, Kiss Them For Me. I learned that on the Dave Mason. We Just Disagree. Yeah. And then a week or two, I forget, and I just, I know a lot of songs. I mean, Scotty Beers is like, my God, how many? But I forget, I know parts, because if I'm or rehearsing, then I'll have a 2-hour, 3-hour set of covers if I want to. Just me alone. But a lot of this, again, this knowledge, like, knowing all these songs and lyrics, you can't put that on your resume unless you're looking for a cover band, which I kind of am. I'm going to start playing again. And I'd never been in a real cover band, meaning when I was younger, we were in a cover band, but not like a dedicated cover band. Comment below if you know anybody around the Illinois area that needs a singer, guitars. Holler. Yeah, and comment. What do you think? What kind of music are you into? Do you have a harmonica? Do you have do you play a guitar? If you have a guitar, have you busted out? Restring it. Get involved, live a bit. It'll help you out. There's something about playing guitar and singing, for me anyways. maybe won't do anything for anybody else, but it's magical to me. Music is magical. My dogs love uh, music. My little dog will, when I had a half stack, because I have a 100-watt tube head here. I don't have the cabinet, and I couldn't play it here in my apartment. The cops would be. Um, but when I was in LA, I was a half stack, a couple half stacks, and she would lay in front of it. I was jack, 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 Uh, yeah, just comment. What do you think? Do you want to play? Do you have a guitar, a bass, violin, whatever it is? Tambourine, who knows? I suggest everybody get into music. I mean, everybody loves music, but I'm talking about like make it a thing. Because I've known people, and I've done this too, where I just needed a break, put my guitar down for a while. Like this past year, I've been focusing on my podcast. I'm not playing as much but I have been. I've been picking it up and picking a little bit, chicken picking, the get fiddle. Yeah, I suggest people get back into the rhythm of playing more music, listening to more music. When you're not doing anything, just turn on some music. That's the thing. And the reason I'm saying this is because I have people I know who've gotten away from listening to music. And then it's kind of affected their lives, Like they're like, why? Are you listening to music? No. Well, you need to have that magic in your life. The frequencies, the wave, that's what, hey, we have ear. That's what it stimulates our brain. People that are older in like retirement homes or whatever, man, they play music, they pop a lot, Don't neglect the music in your life. Music is magical. We need more music and magical stuff. And also, I'm going to start doing more. Like yesterday, my podcast, What Best Is Yet to Come, I'm going to start performing live, like gigging in my living room if I have to. By myself if I have to. I don't care. I just miss it. Enough. I need to start playing again. And I will. With that being said, please support the channel. I need support. And if you do, information is in the description for Cash App and Zelle. Because I don't need that much gear. I've got enough to get, but I need better equipment. I need a better I'm sitting in front of a laptop. I'm using the camera on a laptop. And I need light. I need a bunch. But yeah, I'd appreciate it. And again, please like, share, and subscribe. I do this every day, ranting like a madman. So I'll be back tomorrow. And it's New Year's Eve. I don't really have any plans. I'm not a big like partier anymore. Woo! I used to gig. I'd play. That was a big thing for us to play on New Year's Eve. Just get ossified drunk and you wake up, your ears ringing, you smell like a smoke machine, your neck is sore from head banging. But yeah, I'm gonna play guitar today. I'm actually gonna be playing a lot today. But yeah, pardon me. I'll be back tomorrow. But I love y'all. Be blessed. Cheers.